Hello everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Today we're going to work on another fun block in Kimberbell's Candy Corn Quilt Shop project. And today we are going to stitch out the Broom Parking Only block. I love it. All others will be stitched in the ditch. How fun. So let's go ahead and gather your supplies for the Broom Parking block. You're going to need your background fabric and the purple fabric and your thread, and that's basically it for this one. So let's go ahead and gather your supplies and I'll meet you over at the machine. All right, we're ready. Check my bobbin. I've got a good amount of bobbin thread still in there, so I should be all right. I have gone ahead and put a piece of poly no-show mesh into my hoop. You can use a 5x7 hoop for this block. I chose to do it on my 8x8 only because it's a little bit easier to see on camera, but you can definitely use a 5x7 hoop for this block with no problem. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the hoop in the machine. Now let's take a look at the screen on the embroidery machine so I can show you how to add the designs. Now just for reference, I have a Brother Dream machine, the original one. So you can kind of follow along on your screen if you have something similar. If you don't have this machine, that's okay. You're just going to load the first quilting design, and then you're going to stitch that out, and then you're going to go back and you're going to load the applique design and stitch that out. So not a problem, but I'm just going to show you on this one how to add it, just in case. So we're going to go to the flash drive. Then I have it in a folder called Candy Corn. I have a couple other projects on this flash drive. Now we're going to go to the quilting designs first. And if you look at your Kimberbell instructions on page 17, we're going to be doing the Broom Parking block today. So on the upper kind of right side, a little bit down from the top, it says squaring or trimming instructions. We're going to square the finished block to 4.5 by 6.5. That means the quilting design that we want to select for this block is the 4x6 design. You want to select a quilting design that is just a hair smaller than the size of the finished squared out block. This case 4.5 by 6.5. So with seam allowances, we're going to pick the design that is a 4x6. Make sense? Cool. All right, so we're going to click Set. Brings it in nicely. Now we're going to click Add, and I'm going to go back to the flash drive, and I'm going to go back to Candy Corn and to my main quilt folder where I have put all the designs for the main quilt, and we are looking for the Broom Only Parking. Where's Broom Only? Oh, you can barely see it. That's why I couldn't find it. Look for this orange outline, and I can barely see the text. This is Broom Only. Click on that. There it is. It shows it in white, and that's why I couldn't find it. But we've got it. So we're going to click Set. Everything looks good, so let's click Embroidery. All right, so now we are ready to go. So let's go back to the other camera here. Here we go. And the fabric that we're using in this block, the background, is this really cool diagonal. Okay, let's see if we could do it this way. Okay, it's going to be this diagonal print. So I think I want to do the placement stitches in black thread, the tack down of the batting in black thread, because you're not going to see it. Then I'm going to tack down this fabric in black thread, and I'm going to do the quilting in black, because I think that would be a cool effect to have the black show up on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and put black thread in the top of the machine, because the next few steps can all be done in black thread, and it will save me from switching out thread so often. And I can go ahead and put it in the machine now and just start stitching. So let's do that. Black thread up on top, foot down, and we're going to stitch out the first step, which is the placement line for the batting. Okay, I'm going to now put down the piece of batting that I have. It's a tight fit. It's actually a scrap from the last piece, but it's going to fit just perfectly. So make sure I'm covered on all sides. It's just going to fit right on. Okay, foot down, and let's tack down the batting. See, it just fit perfectly. All right, so let's take the hoop off the machine. Let's take this over to the table and trim away the excess batting. Okay, we're back at the machine. Hoop is back on, and we've trimmed the batting nicely. So let's go ahead and, with black thread still on the top of the machine, let's put the foot down and stitch out the placement line for the fabric. Okay, so now I'm going to lay the fabric down on top and make sure that I've got it covering everything left and right. And I do this to kind of make sure I'm centered there. It looks good, so let's put the foot down. You can either tape it or do what I do and hold it down with my hands, but make sure the fingers don't go anywhere near the needle. Let's tack down the fabric. Now we're ready for the next step, which is one of my favorites. We're going to stitch out the quilting design. So black thread is still on the top of the machine. Let's put the foot down and watch it stitch the quilting. Isn't that fun? We gotta take a look at this. That is fun. It's like the quilting is peeking out behind the black stripes. That is really cool. I like that a lot. Love how that turned out. Okay, so let's put that back on the machine. Now we're gonna stitch out the placement line for the fabric. And I wanna go ahead and switch because my fabric is purple. I want to go ahead and switch the thread in the top of the machine to match so we can tack that down. So let's go ahead and put purple thread in the top of the machine. And again, a note, I'm using the fabric from the kit. So if you're not using the fabric from the kit, don't worry. Just put a thread that matches the fabric that you're going to use for the back of the round of the sign in the top of your machine. Mine just happens to be the purple fabric. Okay, so let's stitch out the placement line for the sign. Okay, so now because it's a little high up, I'm going to go ahead and take the hoop off so I can see what I'm doing. The fabric is not really directional, but some of the signs are facing more upright in this piece that I've cut. So I've kind of chosen the direction that I want to put it. And now I'm going to go ahead and just line her up and make sure that I've got all of it covered. Make sure you cover that placement line and we are good. And we're good on top. And I put the hoop back on the machine. And hold the fabric with the stylus and let's tack it down. Okay, looking good. So let's put white thread in the top of the machine. All right, we've got white thread on top. Everything looks good. Now this in real time is a 15-minute stitch out. So we're going to fast forward through this, but put the foot down and let's go. Let's stitch out the words broom parking only. All others will be stitched in the ditch. Here we go. Very nice. Look at that. Look at that. Got some straggler threads. That's okay. Nothing we can't handle. We'll trim the rest up later. That looks good. Okay, so let me check my bobbin. My bobbin's getting a little low, so I'm going to go ahead and put a new one in because I really don't want to go into stitching a long satin stitch with just that much bobbin thread left, because it will not make it, and then I'll have to deal with going back stitches and picking up where the satin stitch left off and trying to be perfect. This way I just put a new bobbin in, then I don't have to worry about the satin stitch not having enough to make it all the way around. Even if it had a little bit more on it, I would still take it out, put a new one in, and then I can always use this for tack down stitches and things like that later, just to make our life a little bit easier. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to put an orange thread up in the top, because I think that would be a fun outline. Mine's a little bit brighter orange than they show in the picture. It's almost like a gold orange that they have, but I'm going to go with this fun and festive orange. I think that would look great against that. So I'm going to put that thread in the top of the machine. Okay, now I've got the thread in, but we're going to take this over to the table first. We need to trim away this excess fabric before we can stitch the satin stitch out. So let's go over to the table. Okay, so we got the fabric trimmed up nicely. Orange thread is already in the top of the machine. So now we are ready to stitch out the satin stitches. In real time, this is about a 9-minute stitch out. So let's fast forward through and do the awesome satin stitches. Oh, I love this. That color with that, the orange with that purple, really makes it pop. I love it. Let's take this over to the table and let's finish this block up. This really turned out cute. All right, let's go ahead and take it out of the hoop. All right. Now we're going to square this block up. If you're using the Kimberbell Orange Pop ruler system, you need the rectangle ruler that is 4.5 by 6.5 inches, and you'll square it up using that. For this block, I'm going to square it up with a regular ruler to help everyone out there who may not have the Orange Pop ruler system. Okay, so there is a stitch line all around this entire block. That was the tack down stitch for the fabric. We're going to use that as our guide, and in order to trim it up, I want to put my ruler to the left just outside that stitch line, like 1/8 of an inch or less outside that stitch line. And I'm just going to hold down the ruler, and I'm going to go ahead and trim that side up and cut the rest of my stabilizer down here. That's the first easy cut. Okay, this next cut we need to be really accurate on. This block is 6.5 inches by 4.5 inches. So I want to go ahead and take my ruler, and I'm going to be measuring 4.5 inches across. So 4.5, and I just count 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So I am spot on where I need to be. And if you look through the ruler, you can see that stitch line is just to the side of that. Okay, so let's turn the ruler this direction. Got to do the same thing because I want to be able to cut the whole way. So 1, 2, 3, 4.5 all the way across. The stitch line is right on the inside there. And if you cut off a teeny bit of it, that's okay too, because it's literally going to be put into your seam allowance. So there's no problem if you cut on the stitch line or just a hair over it. That's not a problem. The main thing is that your block measures 4.5 inches wide. So 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Spot on. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing this way. This way it's going to be 6.5 inches. So again, I'm just going to go just a smidgy past that stitch line, and I'm going to trim that up. So now we've trimmed that up. So now I just want to measure 6.5 this way. So I'm going to go ahead, position my ruler 6.5, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.5. In my mind, that's my double check. I can see my stitch line just inside the ruler, and I trim it up. And that's how you trim up your blocks with a regular ruler. See, I've got my stitch line a couple one, and this one I trimmed right on it. That's fine, because all this is going to be put in your seam allowance anyway. So it doesn't matter if you're actually on the stitch line. As long as your block measures 4.5 by 6.5, you are good. All this is going to be hidden anyway. Isn't that cute? I love how that turned out. All right, so now let's put this with all the other blocks that we have made so far in this project. Isn't this looking good? Here lies all my scraps. Let's put the boo-bock and the home sweet home. Look at that! You guys have done all of this so far. Isn't that amazing? I love it. So I hope you had fun doing today's block. Please subscribe to my channel. It's free, and it really helps me do what I do for you. All you got to do is click on that red subscribe bar on YouTube, and it will automatically subscribe you for free. Then you'll be able to see all the catalog of all of my videos that are out there. Then click the bell notifications, and then you'll be notified on your phone or iPad or computer as to when I upload all of my videos. Each time I upload one, you'll get a bell ring, and you'll know right away and be one of the first ones to watch the video. How cool is that? So please stay tuned. I hope to see you here again on Jolly Molly TV when we make the next block in this fun project. So I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.